So let me say this, that I'm grateful for those of you who listen to these shiurim. And the whole idea of the shiurim is for me because I need to learn. And I'm learning with you. And I hope you can enjoy that. But the greater idea here is to be mefarsem, to publicize all these different books, which are really, really important, even if people don't learn them, but they maybe see them or heard the words. Or we're learning things like the Sifra Tzniut. I mean, who knows about that? So let's come over here. We're learning the Likutei Maharan. Now this is very similar. You see that these books that I'm into and that I'm bringing here all have certain similarities. The similarities is the elevation of the soul that's within us to be able to perform what is needed. So here he's saying that it's possible that it's really words that are used in other places as well. Rabbi Maharan really is on the same track, and he's not a Breslever. He's a Sephardi, and his tradition is from Sephardim. So therefore he's an Oriental organized mind that has its own traditions, but they're saying the same things. So he said this is looking at the seichel that is in everything, because the seichel that is in you is the seichel that is in the stone, the seichel that is in the lamp, the seichel is in everything. So let's see like this. So the person who could use that person has a tremendous advantage in the world to be able to perfect himself. However, the person who does not bind himself to the inner intelligence, wisdom, and vitality that is in each and everything corresponds to Esav. He's like our brother Esav, not interested in that. He despised the birthright, which is Chachmah, as it is written, and Esav despised the rights of the firstborn. The inner intelligence, that's Chachmah. This fool does not desire understanding, but only to bear his heart. In other words, his heart's desires. And this corresponds to the kingdom of evil. Kingdom of evil is pure passion to fulfill your desires. So he said to the moon, which is called the moon of the other side. The other side means the side of evil, of which it is said, the moon shall be disgraced. Now let's go on. So there's a little blurb in here. Let me see if I can get a little bit lower. We'll see a little bit better. He says, better a youth poor and wise than an old and foolish king who no longer knows how to care for himself. So wisdom is very, very important, even in the hands of people who are very young or very inexperienced. This is the concept of the good inclination and the evil inclination, the Yetzer Tov and the Yetzer Hara, the basic model of Judaism. The good inclination is called poor and wise because it feels its own emptiness and needs to attract wisdom to know what to do. Corresponding to Malchus. This is Malchus, which we always say has nothing of her own, just empty, which is an act of the poor and needy, with nothing of her own other than what she received from Chachmah, which is wisdom. And we saw this in the Zohar today. If we listen to the Zohar in today's shir in the Zohar, we saw this. But the evil inclination is called an old and foolish king. This is Malchus of the other side. That's the king on the other side. The one who wants nothing more than to feed his face. It's like somebody says to me, why can't you, can you make a kosher lobster? So my thinking about that is, when you get to be my age, you get old enough, food doesn't mean that much to you anymore. Because sooner or later, it's going to lose some of its taste. And that's what happens when you get older. You can't keep it if it's physical. Who has no desire for wisdom and interintelligence and doesn't think about the future or where he's going, as in the fool does not desire understanding. Each person is required to give strength to the kingdom of holiness so that it may overpower the kingdom of the other side. So originally, what Rabbi Nachman said was that through the study of Torah, this builds up the Jews and knocks out the other side. As our sages taught, a person should always incite the good inclination against the evil inclination. It means to battle it. And how is strength given to the kingdom of holiness? So here it comes. By means of the Torah study that a person engages in with enthusiasm. As our sages taught, a person should always incite if it leaves good. If not, he should engage in Torah. So he said, and our sages thought if this is a rogue or cost you, he's talking about you. So if you run into somebody really bad, drag him to the house of study. Bring him to a place where he can be exposed to Torah. For it is by means of the Torah that strength is given to the kingdom of holiness. This is what the basic theme of this Torah is. Because within the Torah is this Chachmah, which has the seichel of everything in it, that it also matches up with the seichel within inside of you. That means the intelligence, or this light that's inside of you. Then Malchus becomes the Nun, which is the Malchus / Nun, receives a vitality from Chachmah. So then you have the two together, and this is the proof that he's using this little Kabbalistic idea of putting the Ches of Chachmah into the Nun, and you create the idea of Chen, which is grace. The Chet and the Nun are joined and bound together, and as a result, the light of the moon will be like the light of the sun. Now, if you listen to the Zohar earlier, you saw that's exactly what went into the construction of the Mishkan. Is the sun and the moon shining into each other. The moon has nothing of her own, but she becomes one with the light of the sun. And when one rises, the other falls. And this is another phrase. This is talking about our brother, the kingdom of evil. Thus the kingdom of evil falls and is nullified. Because this the phrase in Hebrew is that comes and nafel. One gets up, the other one falls. As it is written, the ways of God are upright, the righteous walk in them, whereas the sinners stumble in them. This is by means of the ways of God, the Torah, the righteous, who adhere to the kingdom of holiness, are fortified and restrained and receive strength, whereas the sinners stumble in them, corresponding to the kingdom of evil. They don't want all of the Torah and the mitzvahs. They don't want this understanding of God. The evil inclination which falls and is humbled by means of the Torah as above. So he says when you want to fight the evil inclination, he says the way to fight the evil inclination is devote yourself to Torah. If you're a person, as he's saying, who needs help, then you need to create this chen, this ches, and this nun together. Let's go a little further. It is through this that all the prayers and petitions are accepted. For the main reason the requests are not accepted is that the words lack grace and do not penetrate the heart. Nobody's listening. They don't penetrate the heart of the one being asked. It is if there was no place in his heart for the words to enter, because the petitioner is lacking the grace needed for the words to enter the heart of the one he petitions. But by means of the Torah, and this is what he wants to say. What does the Torah do? There's a lot of different metaphors for this, but this is what he says, through which the Nun, which is Malchus, which is the empty space, which is you, and the Chet, which are joined and bound together, which is the concept makes the word Chen in Hebrew, Ches Nun, which is grace. That's how it's introduced. This is why the Torah is called Ya'alat Chen. It's the gazelle of Chen. But Ya'alat only means it elevates Chen. The person then merits that his words are words of charm. And so his words and requests are received. Now I'm thinking always this is the same idea. In the back of this idea is prayer. Because the idea is to find a way to vocalize your needs. Because in that way, you'll be able to reach God and get involved in his Torah and continue to try to reach him in a prayerful way. As in the case when someone speaks with chen. So when you speak in a graceful way, the matter penetrates the heart of the one that's being asked, the petitioner, the one being asked. This is the concept of the Tov. Now he says this is the concept of the letter Tov. This is by the Chet and Nun being joined and bound together, producing chen, and then the Tov is made. Now, how is this? So he's making the word nachas. This suggests etching and marking, as in hadvita, inscribe a mark. Now, I just have to look. He says his visa tov. inscribe the letter Tov. So that its visa is Lashon Tov, like that. There's a Taf and a Vav in there. So by means of the Chen, a space is carved out and marked. Marked in the heart of the one who is petitioned to ask and accept the request. So now it's becoming more clear to me. It's like this, that if you have something that you really need, and you need the prayer to be answered. My granddaughter just heard today broke her ankle. She's an acrobat. That's what happens. So now she broke her ankle, and now we all have to think about what's going to be here. We're going to pray for her, that she should have a refuah shalem amen. So he said, who is petitioned to accept the request, for as a result of the grace, his words are accepted. Thus it is that the Chen etches a place in the heart of the one who is being petitioned, so that the other's words may enter his heart and cause the request to be accepted. This etching and marking is the concept of the Tov. This is the meaning of Ecclesiastic, where it says the words of the wise are heard. They're heard with nachas, gently. Specifically nachas, the aspect of Chen, it's Chen and the Tov, so that the Tov, that is the Chen, is carved in to that person, that entity which you are requesting, which together spelled nachat. Then his words are heard and his request is accepted. This is Baruch Fleischman, and this has been Rebbe Nachman of Breslev.